Now, it appears to me like it might be a land grab or takeover. You know, get my foot in the door, then here I come. Could that be possible?
Well, we hope not. I mean, and I don't think that it's possible. I think that we, throughout this process, are adamant that it stays in the management of the Forest Service, and that no private lands are involved in it. So if you're worried about, or you're concerned about taking private lands that are adjacent to it,
No, I'm not.
you're not concerned about that.
No, they will change the regulations of the government land. So no telling what, no telling.
Okay.
You know, I took a lot of your time, and I appreciate it, and obviously.
Okay. Thank you.
Where's this area at, and how many acres you result in the road?
Well, we'd like to define with the help of a lot of people here how many acres we're talking about. But we're looking at an area that is pretty contiguous with the Cranberry Wilderness, and the area that we've identified as places that we think make sense to be considered. Again, nothing set in stone. That's a complex that, so the Cranberry Wilderness is around 50,000. This complex that is about 75,000 that surrounds it. So, you put those together, and it's around 120,000 acres or so, and that's something that we want to continue to look at boundaries and say, well, okay, so this is an activity that might not be compatible here that is emphasized in this management. Maybe we can move a boundary here or there.
This gentleman has a map right here that might be helpful.
Sorry, what?
The acres I was, it's rumored that it was 300,000 acres,
No,
something like that.
no, absolutely not.
So you know the borders then?
Well, so what I was talking about, Norman, is an area that we've identified as places that make sense to be considered. So there's a...
Contiguous means all land touching.
Right, so yeah, so what I mean by that is in the Cranberry Wilderness, you've got the Tea Creek and Turkey Mountain backcountry, you've got the land use of the scenic highway, you've got the Cranberry backcountry that is down below that. And you look at that, that's a contiguous complex. So, we've looked at a contiguous complex if that answers your question.
Does that include the Tea Creek area?
Yeah.
And those
Sorry,
areas there?
How many of these areas that are national monument areas are you charged a fee to go into, designated how long you can stay, where you can park, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, that happens in some places that are national monuments. That happens in some places that aren't national monuments. And it's kind of, in a lot of ways, it's a forest by forest, area by area kind of thing. And I share those exact same concerns. And, that's something that we probably want to flush out through this collaborative process. And, user fees are very important that, that this designation by itself doesn't impact those user fees. And however, I'll say that, every year, the budget of the managing agency is cut, and whether or not this happens, all of us may be looking at, user fees at some point, 10 or 20 years down the road, simply because, the budget of the Forest Service.
I'm in a business that depends on the hunting and stuff, and I've seen so many of these. I also came from the Chemical Valley up here. The reason I came up here, I liked it the way it was, is.
Right.
It is changing day by day. And even the Forest Service, as of yesterday, locked gates on these roads that were accessible for deer hunters and bear hunters. But at the end of the year, those gates are locked. They're no longer accessible for trappers, coon hunters, etc. That season is still in for 2 months. So even under the Forest Service, we still have many restrictions that I don't feel are right. But if it goes under the National Monument area, there's a chance. It may never happen. You're a lot younger. You may see it. I may not. But there's a chance with one signature that can go under a national park. Is that correct?
Well, I think it's a lot more complicated than that.
But is that correct?
Well, anything is possible, but so the Department of Agriculture manages the forest.
I want to make one comment on that. I printed this off the computer when you talked about who's actually controlling it. There's been 112 national monuments in the United States. There's 104 of them that's managed by 5 different divisions: the Forest Service, Bureau of Land Management, National Park Service, Fish and Wildlife Service, Armed Forces Services, and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. If you read on the computer when you go to these, they said that within 3 years, about 60% of them gets turned over to the National Park Service for lack of funding, because the Forest Service doesn't get enough money to meet the requirements to cover the restrictions that they put on them. You know, so once it goes to the National Park Service, in 3 years, 60% of them, right now, there's 77 out of 104 controlled by the National Park Service.
Yeah, I'd like to get some more information on that, Jamie, because I've never seen that. I mean, there's certainly some of the earlier monuments that were designated on forest land for one reason or another, you know, ended up, and this is, you know, very early on, as Park Service monuments, but you know, in the last 20 years or so, that doesn't happen, and, you know, we were looking.
But that's a decision that's made by Congress when the budget time comes. It's not made by the president. When the funding in there, Congress has the decision before they bring the money from.
Sure. But I mean, you know, so a lot of some of the other monuments were more often than not when that happens with the Park Service, it's already managed by the BLM or something that's under the Department of Interior, so it's easier to make that switch. But this, I think, you know, you're talking about the Department of Agriculture, Management Forest Service, you know, all of us, Charlie Limited, mountain bikers, you know, us, we all want it to stay as part of the Forest Service. And I don't think we could say it's as simple as a signature. I mean, I think there would be a lot of pushback from all of us, and that's something where we all be very unified in our position on that.
My wife and I have been coming up here for about 50 years, really enjoyed the area, and we hate to see it change. I really don't see the benefit of making a natural monument. I've been involved with a project down on the New River. Back in the 70s, we were concerned that the New River was going to be degraded by further mining, and we petitioned Congress to make it a New River National River. Senator Byrd pushed his bill 95-625 through Congress and made it a national river. The bill specifically stated that the land would be protected through scenic easements and local zoning. The Park Service came in and started managing it and immediately started buying up property. Right now you go down there, you see a lot of armed rangers running around. People are getting arrested for digging ginseng and yellow root, not keeping their dogs on a leash. It's way over-regulated, and I would hate to see that for this area up here.
Concern.